A home. It's something we all need. But for too many, having a safe place to make a home is out of reach. The challenges can seem insurmountable. And yet, each and every day, people are coming together to provide safe, quality, and affordable housing for those in need. Welcome to Let's Talk Housing. I'm your host, Meeta Naidu. Join us as we listen to and learn from people in British Columbia who are creating strong, inclusive communities where everyone can thrive. Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Housing. I'm your host, Meeta Naidu. Joining me today is Paula Wiley, Executive Director at Connexus Community Resource Center, and Chris Nielsen, Family Services and Housing Program Manager, also at Connexus. Today, we'll be discussing a new housing project for seniors in Fort St. James, a small town in northern central British Columbia. Before we get underway, I'd like to acknowledge that I am recording on the unceded and unsurrendered land of the Halkominum-speaking people. For transparency, this episode is being recorded in April 2025 and reflects the issues and priorities of that time. Paula and Chris, welcome to Let's Talk Housing. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi. First, I'll just acknowledge I'm talking to you from the unceded traditional territory of Nak'azdli Whut'en here in Greater Fort St. James area. And I've been with Connexus since 2018, taking on the housing piece of management in the fall of 2023, so quite new to it all, and huge learning curve for housing. Big demand, as you know, all over the province, and certainly within rural communities such as where I am, Fort St. James, it's a big thing.
And Paula, tell us a bit about yourself.
Thank you for having us here today. My name is Paula Wiley. I'm from Neghuni First Nation, but live, work, and play and grew up on Sycas First Nation traditional territory. I am the Executive Director at Connexus Community Resources, and I've been in this position since January 2024, but I've been at the agency in various capacities since September of 2006.
Wow, that's great. Thank you both for joining us. So Chris, I'd like to start with you. Can you tell us a bit about the Neghuni Ghunli-un housing project and what makes it unique?
It's a project that I understand Paula knows a bit more about the history than I do, but the discussion started over 5 years ago around the need for more seniors housing so that those that live here or those that have family here have a choice of aging in place. So as a result of lots of conversation with the Indigenous communities around Fort St. James Municipality, regional district representatives, and the province, as I understand it, there was a solution that was arrived at for a independent living facility. Then things got started with a land blessing, which was kind of cool. Before everything got started, or before any shovels hit the ground, there was the land blessing, and then shovels dug into the ground and a bunch of other heavy equipment, and the building started to be erected. So it's exciting to have a new facility in Fort St. James. It's a little bit techie in the sense that there's no keys to the building for residents. It's all a fob system. It's under lock and key, so to speak, 24/7. So people have a sense of security that live there. They use their fob to get into the facility, and they use their fob to open their own apartment. If there's visitors are coming, there's a panel that you punch in a resident's suite number or apartment number rather, and their phone rings because it's tied to their phone, and then they can let someone in by pressing a code on their phone. So that's kind of neat to see that.
That's amazing. These are characteristics that are really important for seniors. I want to just jump back a little bit and talk about the name. Tell me about the name. How is that name chosen?
The name, as I understand it, was a consultation, and Paula, please jump in anytime, consultation with Nak'azdli elders and their language group in terms of deciding what might be most appropriate for a seniors facility, because it's kind of neat. It took me 2 months to learn how to pronounce the whole name, and it is Neghuni Ghunli-un. And it means knowledge keepers, loosely translated. And Paula could share a bit more around some of the history on how long it took to create the name, what kind of discussion went on. So I'll defer to Paula for some more history on that.
Yeah, so Connexus strives to work towards reconciliation in all of the work that we do. So through this project, we were consulting with local First Nations communities to try to make it to work with and integrate First Nations communities and members and language. We have a bunch of things that went into this project, a lot of work that went into the project. And as Chris said, it means knowledge keepers. And just to back up even more, this is a second build of seniors housing that Connexus has done. So we learned from the first one. And during that name branding that we were trying to come up with in Vanderhoof, part of it came with knowledge keepers, came from that as well, but also consultation with the Nak'azdli elders group. And we wanted to put something that meant was meaningful to the community. And so we took something that was translated into the carrier language, and that's very difficult to do because it's hard to directly translate from English to carrier. So we had local elders come up with that translation. And then we worked with the communities to come up with syllabics as well for the signs that within the building. So the name, and then also within the building as well.
At what point in the consultation, I'm curious, did you bring in the elders? Was it right at the beginning?
So this project, actually, Chris and I jumped on not from the beginning. We continued. So the individuals that we're working with to develop the name are no longer here, but they met with the elders to consult and try to learn about the process on how to come up with a name and how to translate it and come in consultation. So this took actually quite a few months to be able to weekly meetings to get together and try to figure out a name that would be suitable for the community.
The idea of community decision-making at the onset of these developments is so important and so profound, actually. Why was Fort St. James selected as the location for this development?
So like I said, we've had another project that was similar to this. So we already had relationships with the project managers, architects, and we applied for seed funding, all of these things that we did in one community, and we started it in another. And so as the build in Vanderhoof happened, we started consulting with the District of Fort St. James, like Chris said, and First Nations communities and BC Housing, and so many other partners to be able to know that there was a need in a small community. And I want to highlight that so that it's not often selected to come to small communities. And it's really hard to find a rental or any housing in Fort St. James and the area, and also affordable housing, because a lot of seniors that need housing might be at a lower income and not be able to afford general market rent. So we worked with BC Housing to be able to develop something that would be accessible and affordable in a small community, so elders and seniors could age in place.
Absolutely. And I think that's the beauty of this particular project and why we wanted to have you on the podcast is because of that really localized identity. And this project really specifically meets the needs of the seniors in that community. And that's incredibly unique and special. What does it mean, Paula, for seniors in your area to have safe and culturally connected housing that allows them to age in place? Yeah.
Yes, it means so much. So Fort St. James, and Chris can probably talk more to this because she lives in Fort St. James, but there's so many outlying First Nations communities around Fort St. James. So Fort St. James is really a hub, and Nak'azdli is a hub for people to come into the community for so many things. So it's really important to be able to have something that's right in the community, to be able to downsize if they need to or move back. Chris has some wonderful stories that we'll share later about others that have moved into this new housing facility.
Yeah, Chris, jump in, and tell us some of these stories. We'd love to hear them.
One of the women that has moved back, she was employed within the school district for many, many years and retired and moved away for 20 years and chose to move back from the Lower Mainland last year with a relative. And so they're both here again. And she is quite excited about reconnecting with friends and family that she maybe hasn't talked to for a number of years. She's really enjoying the facility itself. One of the little things I didn't even think of is during the winter, and we do get winter, they, because the hallways are quite wide, this is one of the pieces that she brought up, is that she and other tenants are using the hallway. We're using the hallways in the wintertime as walking trails. We're located there's 4 stories in the building, so to speak, in a sense. So there are 3 options for hallways to be able to go up and down through the elevator and walk the hallways. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Very resourceful in sub-zero weather. Yeah.
That's
amazing.
Yeah.
Because we are in a not so friendly area of the province for some winter conditions. Not always, but so that was kind of fun. Another person that chose to stay here, her and her late husband, when he was still alive, they would summer here after they retired. They were worked here for many, many years and then go south for the winter. And once her husband passed away, she decided, no, because she has family here, she would like to stay here. So she is thrilled to have secured an apartment in the facility. And that's kind of nice too, because her relatives, her children, her adult children and grandchildren and such can come and visit. She can come and go. And that was another thing that was nice for people, is feeling that they can leave their apartment and know that it's secure, because it's inside of a complex and it's locked. And if you go away for a couple weeks, that's okay. Every one of the apartments has a balcony. And the apartment complex itself was built so that apartments are east and west facing. So you're either getting the sunrise or the sunset. And of course, the west facing apartments are popular because you get a view of Stewart Lake here in Fort St. James. The eastern facing apartments are also a favorite for some residents because they get to look out on trees and some wilderness. And if they're fortunate, they will see a large black 4-legged friend or such. So we have had to put up warnings on the doors. In the spring, I anticipate we'll have to do this again, and certainly did in the fall, because the building is so close to a treed area or a forest area. There are bears that travel through Fort St. James on a regular basis, and so I anticipate, just as I did in the fall, I will do that in the spring here and have to make sure you're watching before you walk out of the building, just in case, because there is a route for the bears between our building and the house next to us. Just it's a smaller area, but they will go where they will go. Another lady shared that she was excited to have a place of her own. She'd been living here for quite some time with her adult son, and so was very excited to be able to move into Neghuni, have an apartment herself, start to socialize with seniors of similar age. And there is quite a group of seniors now that all get together in the amenities room, whether it's to build a puzzle, whether it's to just have coffee, whether it's to have a potluck. Actually, this Friday, I was just up at the facility this morning and saw a sign up. They're inviting all the residents to come and have a barbecue, and like any kind of potluck, who's going to bring the cheese, who's going to bring the buns, who's going to bring the fruit, that kind of thing. So it's kind of fun that we see that all the time, that people are growing to feel comfortable with their new neighbors and making it a neighborhood within the building.
Right. They're community building.
Yeah, they are definitely doing that.
So another person I'm thinking of is it's really hard to recruit professionals to the community. And so we have recruited 2 professionals that were not from Fort St. James, and they've invited or moved their family along with them. And they were able to move into the seniors housing unit in Fort St. James at Neghuni. And I think that's really important to note, that you can also support others in order for retention for professionals, right? So it's great to have that option for that housing to keep families together.
Yeah. That's beautiful. It's attracting people. The idea of the bears is actually really fun because they have not been transplanted. They have a root,
Yes.
as you were saying. They are also aging in place. What does aging in place mean, Paula, for Indigenous communities?
Yeah, so already it's really important to stay part of a community, and if you can stay part of a community, it may be like that's really close. And I want to say that like we live in a place where the communities are about 45 minutes apart, let's say, and so to stay within this area, to be able to gather with friends and family, like Chris is talking about, the community that's within Neghuni Ghunli-un, it's also so that they can still participate in Easter or Christmas dinners or different types of gatherings that they would not be able to do if they had to move out of the community. So it's great to be able to still take part in traditional activities that are happening on the weekends, and then just go back and sit into the nice, beautiful, brand new build and Neghuni Ghunli-un.
That's beautiful. Tell us about the collaboration it took to kind of build this amazing project. There were many partners. Tell me more about that.
So many partners. So from week to week, Chris and I would meet with construction companies and architects, project managers that are all like, these are people all over the province. And then also Chris is in Fort St. James. I'm in Vanderhoof. Like we all worked together on this. In BC Housing, there was so many partners to be able to get together from week to week to talk about the progress and the build and the excitement of it coming together. But then also there was some barriers and things that happened that would set it back. And then we all get together and talk and see problem solve, troubleshoot, do like different things together and work as a team to be able to build. It was such a great learning opportunity to be part of that process.
We now know a few more acronyms when it comes to construction.
Right. I'm sure you can pull off the next project.
Ask a lot of questions about what does that mean?
I mean, tell me about the artwork. I heard there's great artwork there.
The artwork is coming. I've just had an opportunity to work or to contact artists within the greater area that Connexa serves. So Fort St. James, Vanderhoof, and Fraser Lake. I have artists from those 3 communities. I have an artist from Sycas. I have some interesting pieces in that they're not traditional art, but they are traditional pieces of Nak'azdli. And so I'm excited to put those into a shadow box because they will tell a story around Mooside and the use. And I also have a piece of bone that would be used for tanning hide, I think, or is it skinning hide? I might be getting this wrong. But I thought that was a neat piece to add because it's not something you would think necessarily of as an art piece because it is a utility for hides. So I thought that would be an interesting part to have as an artistic story. I have a couple of artists from Prince George, one of which is Indigenous, artists from Vanderhoof, artists from Fraser Lake, and Fort St. James itself. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hanging hopefully in the next month, and then having a little bit of a celebration with artists and the tenants themselves. So the tenants get to meet maybe some of the artists if they're available to come to Fort St. James, and the artists get to meet each other. I thought that would be kind of fun for both the tenants and the artists themselves to see where their art is being hung in the building. And it's very a mix of photographers and traditional kind of painting in different mediums and Indigenous artwork. So I think the pieces will speak to people in different ways. As the personalities of the tenants are varied, so will be the art.
And as people enter the building, you want them to see local art or local artists. They want to feel welcome and safe and comfortable. And when you see something that is from your area or you know the artist, it means something different. Or it means so much when you see that piece of art in there. And that's what we wanted to create, is a comfortable space for everybody that they could all relate to.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea of art, aging in place, seniors, I mean, it's all just such a beautiful collaboration of ideas. How can this project serve as a model for others in the future? Like, what are you thinking for the future, Paula, for the area?
There's so many opportunities for the future. We've already, because of the 2 builds that we have done, we've been contacted multiple times from across the province, even because we have some experience with building affordable housing, right? So along with that can come programming as well. And all of it is just so that seniors are able to age in place in the homes. So we do have the experience and we do have the knowledge to be able to build within the smaller communities. That's very, very important.
I would love to know a little bit more about the future of Indigenous-led housing projects and partnerships with government. Like, how unfold that for me?
Yeah, so partnerships is really important. And I think it can go right from just a consultation. So there's been times that other communities have reached out to us just for the knowledge or questions, like, you've been through this process. Can you help us through this process? It doesn't have to be Connexus building it. It can be Connexus helping connect them with the training or the project managers or architects, or enabling the communities to be able to build within their own, because it's very important to build within your own communities rather than us. So there's lots of times where we were reached out hours away. And as much as I would love to help build that, it really is important to use the resources that you have and build within your own community. So if we could help in that way, in any way, then that would be fantastic for Connexus to do.
I think you've modeled really the future of these collaborations. It's really amazing, and I'm so moved by how this is shaped up for seniors. I have a senior aging in home in my home, and I think about these projects and their impact in community, and it's just, yeah, it's wonderful.
I think one of the things that we can talk about is in small communities is the challenges around what isn't in a community as well. We don't have rapid transit or any transit. We don't have a bus system. We don't have Uber. We don't have all sorts of things. So that's very important when you're looking at where you're situating a building. Is it accessible to a pharmacy, to a hospital, to the banking institutions or the grocery stores in your community? And certainly Fort St. James isn't a huge community, so I could argue that, yes, it's fairly accessible. It's on a hill that affords it a great view, so that is a little bit of a challenge. But it is in the community, and I think that's very important when we're talking about rural communities, where you situate any kind of seniors housing complex to ensure that there is ease of access to infrastructure and services that senior either needs right now or you could anticipate the senior will need in the near future.
I just wanted to add in there, it was just a little bit of a funny tidbit. When you were talking about like having your own family that you want to age in place, I've already picked out units for my family members that are aging as well. Letting them know we have all of these are wonderful units that are available at Neghuni, but also we have a huge other array of housing within the communities that we serve. But it's just great to know that we have that option. And then as you build, there's such a process with it. So Chris and I came on the end of the project to help to come to completion, and then now wrapping up and moving people in and trying to make it comfortable, a place for everyone to live. But it just takes so many partners and so many people to make that happen. Because as Chris said, it took over 5 years of planning to start this, to apply for seed funding, to work with the communities, with the district, with the First Nations communities, with BC Housing, with all partners. It takes so much to make it come to move in ready. And it's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a complex project to get to this beautiful place, and a complex journey. Is Neghuni available for extended family living in that sense? Like you were mentioning, you've got units.
They're all 1-bedroom units. So unfortunately, any type of family opportunity isn't there. We do have something unique that is going on, though, and that is we have an agreement with Primary Care Society, and we're extending that agreement a bit so that if we have health professionals coming in, and again in a rural setting, you have some challenges around securing and recruiting and retaining all health professionals. So 2 of our units right now are used for nursing staff that may be rotating in for certain contract hours and then rotating out. So that's been helpful. And it benefits our hospital, it benefits our community. And so that's very helpful. And one of the nurses that has come in that way is now actually going to move to Fort St. James in May, and she will be renting one of the apartments, not the ones that are attached to the primary care, but taking on a rental of an apartment herself. So I'm excited to see her come and live in Fort St. James.
That's actually a really unique feature that I wasn't aware of.
It
the
is
ability. Yeah.
very unique.
It is a unique feature. And I think as well, maybe what we haven't covered yet is who is this for? It is for seniors 55 plus, but it's also for individuals with disabilities. So I think Chris can speak more to this. We do have some units that are accessible. And then we also have some units that can be converted to be accessible. So maybe I'll let Chris talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, our ground floor, if you will, which faces our parking lot, so it faces west. 3 of those units were designed for those that are dependent on a wheelchair or some other type of mobility assistance. And the other 3 units on that floor are adaptable, so they could be converted if needed to be wheelchair accessible as well. And I did misspeak a bit, Paula, when you were talking about the family piece. We also, because we're situated next to the hospital, were there a need for a family to be close to a relative that might be in the hospital, that was also part of the planning in this facility, so that one of those ground floor units could be used for short-term stay for a family, for temporary stay while a relative or possibly the person that is having to go back and forth to the hospital could stay in a unit for a temporary amount of time while their health needs are being addressed. So that's another unique piece, and keeping that type of uniqueness to that ground floor where they can come and go with much more ease than if they were on the upper floors where they're having to go through the elevator system, and this way it's much more accessible.
Yeah, and we have so many surrounding communities that need a place to stay. within Fort St. James. So it really allows for them to visit or to stay close to their family members that might be in the hospital, because this is built right beside the hospital.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think this project is just so unique because it's fulfilled all these different gaps that you guys have assessed and witnessed in community. And this one project really does address almost everything,
Mhm.
you know,
Yes.
and yeah, it's beautiful. Is there anything else that you wanted to add about the project?
I have had a resident recently say, Chris, I think we need garden beds for vegetables and things like that. So I have made a couple applications for grants, and we'll see what happens, because I would love to be able to accommodate, even if it's just a small greenhouse, because again, that lends to activity, it's socializing, growing your own vegetables, which also could relate to another type of a potluck for a barbecue and fresh salad. So yeah, trying to create more opportunities where possible for the tenants to build their tenant community further. And we certainly do have a diverse number of people that live there that have different ethnic backgrounds. We have families or family members that have moved across the country to Fort St. James because their grandchildren or children live here in Fort St. James, and so they've relocated from Ontario or Vancouver or Prince George or Edmonton. So that's kind of interesting too, to see the diversity. And we have Indigenous elders that are there from more than one of the local band communities in the Fort St. James area. So that's kind of nice. Nak'azdli Whut'en, Binche, Tlazden, Takla Lake, and Yukuche are the Indigenous communities that are adjacent to Fort St. James itself. Nak'azdli is literally the middle of a street in terms of the geographic boundary, if you will, that you would see in maps between the communities. So you just cross the street and you're in one community or the other, which is kind of neat. And as we've talked about, Nak'azdli was a very big stakeholder in the community in terms of the building and the naming, and respecting that we're on unceded traditional territory of Nak'azdli as well.
Yeah, going from the land blessing, like Chris said, and consulting with Nak'azdli, and then the name, trying to come up with the name with a carrier name that's very meaningful. And then as we had an open house to invite everyone to come together and get to know one another and just celebrate the opening of Neghuni, we even invited local knowledge keepers and prayers or drumming, any of those types of things. It's incorporating the First Nations culture within it has been a big part of this project.
And as you mentioned too, the signage being in the 3 language pieces. So, and that's all the signage for the building. So there's nothing that isn't recognized culturally with all 3 languages.
And I think just to add in there that Connexus does whatever we can whenever we see there's a community need. And I'm thankful that you noticed that with this one project, there's so many gaps that it helped come together. There's even programming that we have within Neghuni that seniors and elders can access to help live independently.
Yeah, we certainly have seen evidence of that already. One of the residents was quite excited that we have the new position that allows that she could seek some resources that she needed, and was successful in that, and finding out about assistances there provincially and but can access it as locally as possible. So I think that's a big piece as well. And that Seniors Connector person is in Fort St. James once a week. And they're either at Neghuni or they're at our Seniors Recreation Center. So they're connecting with a variety of people. And it's nice for seniors to know that we have those pieces present in the community.
The seniors and elders in Fort St. James are really lucky. to have this project, and they deserve it. And thank you to the both of you for putting your time and your attention to this journey of building this amazing project. Keep in touch with us and let us know what's in the future for your community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To learn more about BC Housing, including how to apply for subsidized housing in British Columbia, visit www.bchousing.org. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X. If you enjoyed this episode, give us a rating. This will help others find Let's Talk Housing and join the conversation. You can subscribe to Let's Talk Housing on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.